Hey, this is Jerry with Bishop's Flowers and Designs by Jerry, and today is 4th of July here in the United States, and we celebrate our Independence Day on this day. Now, normally we go to the lake, we go to the ocean and enjoy ourselves on the beach, we have picnics, and then we set off fireworks at the end of the night. Well, today it is pouring down rain so hard. As a matter of fact, we've already received about 4 to 5 inches worth of rain here in southern Tennessee, and some more is expected tomorrow. So I decided, why not make a few videos for you. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how we start with a basic setup of creating our wreaths. Right now we start off with your typical 24-inch grapevine wreath, but what I'm going to do that makes my wreath a little bit more unique is I'm going to start adding in wild honeysuckle. Now in a few more videos I'm going to actually show you where I get that wild honeysuckle, but I've got to go traipsing out through the woods, and I'm just not willing to do that today during the rain. So what I did was I went out to a fence area here, because I do live on a farm, and I actually pulled some of this wild honeysuckle out of my fence row. So benefits of living on a farm, I guess, right? So one thing you want to do is you want to have a really good glue. Some people use a hot glue. I use pan glue. If you're interested in the pan glue, write me in the comments below, and I'll let you know a little bit more about that and how you can get that. But the first thing you want to do is go ahead and make sure that you're using fresh honeysuckle, because if you let this sit for too many days, once you start bending it, it's going to snap on you. So you've got to kind of go harvest this and then start working with it immediately, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to find out where this is going to fit in to this wreath. And so I'm just going to push it down in here really good, because I want to get a good strong area there. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go in with some of this glue and some of this moss that we have, and the moss will kind of hold the glue and keep it from moving everywhere. Now my dog is laying right below this. Kilky, you got to move, because glue is going to be following the floor. Come on, go move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take this off, and you got to have a lot of room to do this, by the way. So, and I don't. This is not my normal studio that I work in. So what I'm doing is I'm turning this around so that I can get to that honeysuckle and make sure that I get a lot of glue on that honeysuckle. Otherwise it may spring out on me later on, and we don't want that happening, because this is what's going to not only give us a very wild look, but it also is going to help hold in our pots that we're going to put in for our living wreaths. Now this is also the same type of situation that we're going to be doing for our regular live botanical wreaths too. Okay, so now we have that secured really good into the wreath, so it's not going anywhere. Now we want to take the rest of it and just kind of pull it around. And I love how all this is so wild and willowy, because like I said, this is what's going to help us create this natural look. Now what we'll do is you can take some covered wire, or I take chenille stems, which you can get at your craft stores. Some people call them pipe cleaners, and just come around this area here and tie that down, so you pulled it up against the wreath, and now you're just tying it to the wreath. And then we'll come back with some glue as well, and make sure that that is secured in there. So we'll take a little bit of moss again. Now this is preserved Spanish moss and dyed. And then we'll come right down here with this glue, get in there really good and deep. Now you notice I've got the glue really thick, so it doesn't drop all over the place. And then we're just going to cover up our chenille stem, and where we've connected it really good right there. Okay, now that's just how we begin with this. Now let's get some more and continue around. Well, we do this one this way. And so we'll come down through here and push that down into the grapevine. And the same thing again, we're going to pull it up here and we're going to connect this right there. So you notice what natural shapes the honeysuckle starts giving the grapevine wreath. So most people would already just be happy with just the naturalness of the grapevine wreath, but as we start adding this honeysuckle, it really gives some special touches to the wreath before we even get started with our other stuff that we're going to add into it. Now we're going to have to do some more work here. So let's pull this over. Let's go ahead and pull this over and get this out of our way. And I think I'm going to go ahead and tie this off too, just to make sure it's nice and secure. So we'll put that right there. And then once again, we want to come back in with some more glue and some more moss, which, you know, the moss just actually adds to the naturalness and the natural look of it anyway. And it will string on you. I'll show you a tip on how to get rid of that later on. And it's going to stick to your fingers. But once we get done with all this, no one will ever know what all you went through. So let's go right down here. We're going to drop some glue there. So basically what we're doing is number one, we're securing. We've already tied it off to the grapevine wreath, but now we're securing it with glue, and at the same time, we're just kind of covering up our mechanics, which I'm really big on. I don't like people knowing how I did stuff. Even though I'm showing you, I don't like my customers knowing exactly how everything happened. And you got to be really careful with this glue here, because you can turn the temperature up or you can turn it down. And obviously if you turn it up, it gets real runny. If you turn it down, it gets real thick. But if you get it too runny, number one, it's not going to hold well, and number two, it could really burn you as you start working with it. Okay, so it looks like we need a little bit more over here. We've got all of our wildness going through from here to here, it looks like, but we need a little bit more over here. So let's see what we can do with this. Because really what I want is I want this wildness right here. So let's just work backwards and see how we can get that wildness right there. So looks like it kind of fell into place, didn't it? So let's try that. Let's just go with the flow and see what works there. If that's where it wants to go, as long as it works, we're going to let it go there. Cut that off. We'll take this, tie it off a little bit down here on the bottom, and then we want to tie off the side over here, which is really where we wanted all that wild and craziness going on. I want to get it back up here. So it looks like we have enough of the honeysuckle for our design. Now we'll have to use some more honeysuckle to actually help us hold in our pots more. Let me go ahead and get that, all those different places that I put my wire in. Let me get that covered up before we go any further. Sometimes you can just drop the glue on the moss and then drape that over it. Okay, so there you go. Here is your basic setup for a living grapevine wreath. Also, what we can do is we can add silk flowers to this, or we can add fresh plants to this. This one we're going to, in our next video, show you how to go ahead and start setting up by putting potted plants in here. So make sure you tune in next week. Until then, I'm Jerry Williamson with Bishop's Flowers and Designs by Jerry, and we'll see you on the other side.